Welcome back. My name is Jake McDonald. I'm Anything Lacrosse, and this is a game that never sits still. Today, we have another great guest on. We got Will from the Trailer Park Sports Network coming on. I'm excited for you guys to hear the interview. I talked to him for over an hour. Like I said, I think me and him could honestly talk all day. And it's funny because I'm a type of person that will watch any sport as well. So I kind of understand what he's saying. And I learned a lot off him, as always. I always do. That's the thing about all my guests is I always learn a lot off my guests. And I try to at least entertain them for the time they're with me. I'm going to be going over the roster moves that's been going on the last couple of days, just to recap you guys since the last time I was on here. We've got more cuts, obviously. Teams are slowly starting to get those roster numbers down. And, a lot of teams sometimes start with like 40 guys and they have to get down all the way to 21 active roster guys, a couple practice roster guys. But those numbers really do have to really dwindle down. So depends on the team, is depending on how many people they actually bring in. But definitely some battles going on in training camp right now. Like I mentioned before, we have an exciting interview from Will from the Trailer Park Sports Network. Again, just a fantastic human being and bring a lot of exposure to some sports that don't get talked about enough, on top of covering pretty much all the major sports as well. So really interesting. He's actually looking, it's funny, we're going to hear it in the interview, but he's really looking to not niche in, which most people like myself, we try to niche into somewhere. He's almost anti-niche. It's quite funny. So interesting. But when you have a passion for something, it doesn't matter. You can do it. And he's building a great network in there. And I think it's going to cross over a lot of fans, right? So maybe maybe you're a hockey fan, you go in there to talk to him, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, they're bobsledding. I can watch it on YouTube. So there's a missing link there. And I think it helps with all these things. So after the interview, I got a mock trade that I want to throw out there that could possibly do it. I got two, but one's more of a piggyback. So I got my own that I came up with. And I think it honestly could possibly come true. So stay tuned for that. And then I want to just go over some, I kind of want to go over, I was listening to Lacrosse Classified, and he went over two really interesting things. I mean, the whole podcast was interesting, obviously. But we did have one thing that he talked about was Halifax. He had the Halifax coach on. I think he was supposed to originally have the owner on, but just obviously everyone's super busy this time of year. So he ended up having Mike Accuracy on there. And there was a lot of insight there, and we'll go into that in a little bit as well. And as well on there, they went into refereeing. They got to talk to one of the head officials. I think he was the VP of reffing or something. So I kind of wanted to go over a couple things that I heard in there that I didn't know, and I think were like the real key details. And our boy Lucas is asked one very important question that pulled some of the information out of there. So as well, I love seeing him succeed. I love listening to both those guys, Jake and him. I hope to have Jake on the show one day too, and you never know. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we can get him on here eventually. We got our fantasy league launching. I just put all the details. I just put a TikTok up about that. I just put the details in. Basically, it's going to be a best ball system where you choose. I got to nail down the final numbers. Guys seem pretty excited about it. I just put it in about 15 minutes ago, and I've got a lot of interest right away. So I'm going to see how many people are actually involved, and that's going to determine how many players each team gets, and it's going to be a whole season thing. It's really interesting. I don't think there's anybody else that has really done this in the NLL yet. So again, something unique to my Discord, unique to our community, and it's really I've got an idea for a really cool prize that's going to be unique to the only one that'll ever get it is the people that win my fantasy league. So we'll go into that. That's a detail that I haven't even dropped to anybody. So if you're listening to this podcast, that's something that I'm going to keep to myself unless you're listening in this podcast. We've got the jersey giveaway contest currently running. And again, there's still not that many ballots. I think it might be around 100, maybe a little bit over that. More people keep coming in. I think people are forgetting to tag people. So I'm going to be making sure I address that before it comes up. So I'm hoping there's going to be more ballots that go in, but there's a good chance you could win a free jersey. And the contest ends, and then after the games, I'll get on live. So there's no, so everybody can see who is to win, and there's no discrepancy. So I'll probably end up doing it on TikTok, putting it in the Discord. People can jump on and see it. I can live. Anybody that doesn't have TikTok, I'll just live, or I'll just screen record it. Also, no problem. But anyway, you'll get one of those, and we'll send that off as soon as we can. If it's a Halifax fan, I think I'll probably wait till I go down there and just give you the jersey in person for the game, the home opener. I think that'll be a cool thing to do. So that's just an idea I had. So there you go. So jersey contest. So get in the Discord if you can. Again, I'll put the link in the bio. Check it out. Free jersey. Chance to win a free jersey. We just dropped my merch store. I've been working hard at this stuff, guys. Man operation. I've recruited my wife a little bit to do some of it. And then luckily with AI now, I can do way more than I ever could have before. And I can solve problems that I probably wouldn't have been able to, or would have got too frustrated to actually really figure out. So, thank God AI. AI is a double-edged sword. We could get into that all day. I'm a big AI user though. I'm not going to hide that. There's no way I could produce all this content without the help of AI. So I do try to make it sound like me and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of is starting to morph into that. So if you're not using AI to make your job easier in the working world, if you work on like an office job or something, get on it because you're missing the boat and you can make your life easier, right? So anyway, so let's get right into the news, right? So I'm going to be going through all the teams and what they've done, and then I'm going to be kind of breaking down how the rosters are going to end up looking, because it is a little confusing if you're new to the sport or whatever. I always like to kind of talk about this stuff because, even me, I'm still learning this stuff, right? So we got Colorado Mammoth. He released Aaron Woods, Sebastian Simonson, Ryan Simmons, and Nathan Woods, and they released from the PUP list Eamon Diablo. Colorado's probably got the strongest goalie group in the NLL right now. They've probably got at least 2 starter calibers, maybe even 3. So that's a good one of those goalies, if they need help on the back end or they need help up front coming through a season, one of those goalies might end up being a trade bait. And it's, because if another team's really looking for a goalie that maybe one of their guys isn't working out, think they need to go push into a deep playoff run, then they're going to, and if they have the assets, they're going to give them for them, and they'll give it up for them to try to win that championship. And I know a couple teams that I can think of right now: Las Vegas, possibly Halifax, right? They could need goaltending situations depending on how everything pans out. There's a lot of good goalies kicking around, but I think Colorado, it makes the most sense if they were to move a goalie for a big offensive piece, a little bit more scoring. I think that's kind of where they could help. But I will say Andrew Q was a big addition for them, like we talked about in the last podcast there. So yeah, so this is kind of the first round of cuts for them. Halifax, we have signed Nathan Fehr, a big defensive piece. So 6 feet tall, he's 200 pounds, he's a solid defenseman, good at loose balls, good at creating forced turnovers, been part of a Minto Cup run. He can take draws as well, which is a nice little piece to add, right? It's just a nice little like extra to have. Halifax definitely has some guys that can already take some draws, but it's always nice to have an extra guy out there. And I think just for a lot of people, if you like, I do like Halifax. I think they're strong. I think their defense is pretty decent, but to add a young guy like this, and that's the thing about Halifax, is they're starting to, it seems like they're so good right now and they're ready to win, but they're starting to bring some youth into this group too. So it's interesting. So then we've got, so Halifax is looking good. Anyway. So then we've got Las Vegas Desert Dogs. They just released Justin Geddie today, which again, he was kind of the odd man out, I think, as all that happened there. You had Kells, who's obviously, he's kind of their guy. We'll see if he can because he is a good goalie. We'll just see if he can, really push over that hump with this better team in front of him. We've also got that Con kid that's 18-year-old, and I think they like him. He's still hanging around right now. He goes back down to play at a lower league to just develop a little bit more. We'll see. I don't know if you've already seen Las Vegas kind of rush some development of their goalies, so I hope they're kind of patient with these guys. And I think that, Con is supposed to be kind of the next big thing. Very impressed at camp from what I've heard so far, and just a solid kid all the way around. So just about that there. So Geddie was just odd man out, and who knows, hopefully he gets to play somewhere, right? So then we got Logan Mellish, you got Curtis Ward and Lucas Parsons, all were released from the active roster. So yeah, Vegas needs that number 1 goalie, and that's why we'll go into that, the mock trade after the interview. Stay tuned for that. And that's going to be a little hint for you. So we've also got Oshawa Firewolves. You have Jackson Raposo, Howie Francis, and Ben McDonnell as they got released. Obviously, I think Oshawa pretty much kind of knows they're a young team. At Rochester Nighthawks, you have Seth Martineau and Connor Finger. Connor Finger got released. You also have Brad McCauley. He's on the IR list. You have Mike Sisselberger, protected player list, and you have OJ Morris on the draft list. I'll go into all this after. I just want to kind of run through this. They also signed Jeremy Thompson to a 1 year. Now, George is trying to get younger. I've been saying this. I want to watch them in the preseason. They looked good. They looked young. They looked big. They looked fast. I really liked how they looked, but they are definitely looking to get younger. Now, Lyle, in my opinion, Lyle Thompson's still the best player in the world. Don't get me wrong, but if they're looking to get younger, he'd be a great asset to move this season, especially if they're not making the playoffs. If they're making the playoffs, then that's a completely different conversation. If they're looking like they're not going to make the playoffs, then it's going to be more of a development year. We've got a couple really good drafts coming up, and I can tell you right now that it might be smart for Georgia to move him for assets if that's what we're looking at. And so we'll talk about that a little bit, but that I could see Lyle moving and maybe Rochester in contention for him with, I think Jeremy's his brother, if I'm not mistaken. So have it for Rochester. Then we've got Ottawa Black Bears. So Ottawa Black Bears released Cooper Jackson, Parker Pfeiffer, and I apologize for this pronunciation. I know I'm going to butcher it. T.O. McComber. So again, I apologize if I butchered that name. I do my best, and I'm sure I'll get yelled at and corrected in that one. So again, the roster for Ottawa looks pretty locked in. I think they have a smaller group in camp. From what I heard, again, Lucas today on Lacrosse Classified, when I was listening to it, he said that they were doing things, Dan McRae there was doing things that he's never seen in a lacrosse game. So I'm excited to see those guys play. And I personally think one of my hot takes this year is that all the Ontario teams make the playoffs. I really do. I could see that happening. So it's going to be a little disappointing if any of those teams may miss the playoffs, to be honest with you, because I think they're all at that point now where they're all scrappy teams. They're all good. They all have their own little X factors on there, and you might see it. So Philadelphia Wings, they continue to lose players. They released Kayla Malin. Nathan Fehr went to Halifax, as we talked about. Will White, Eddie Fernid. Really, we're going to see what happens with Philly, but unfortunately, I think the writing's on the wall there. We'll see. The thing about this league is you never know. Sometimes you think a team's going to do really good and they don't. And other teams, you think a team's going to do really bad, and all of a sudden they go on a nice little run and they just believe in each other, and there's no stars, and they just go out there. And I'm not saying Philly doesn't have any stars with Joey there, but they all go out there and bond as a team and they go win games. You never know with this game, but I think that the GM realistically on paper can look at it and say, okay, it's probably not going to be our season this season. So Toronto Rock, they've got Mark Matthews has been back. He's played last week already, so that's huge. Ty English to the draft list. Dakota Ellerman and Alex Messier holdout list. Now, I thought Alex Messier would have been on the draft list, but obviously maybe I'm wrong on that one. Goa Abrams released from RFA list, and Luke Robinson released active roster. So, obviously Matthews, I was watching him last night. Not last night. I was watching him last week. This was my first actual, I guess, real look at Mark Matthews like that. And oh my God, bro, he just runs through guys. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Toronto is scary this year. Anyway, you've got Garrett Winter and Boris Malcolm. You have Boris Makashimenko. Probably didn't say that right, and I apologize. I'm working on my pronunciations every day, guys. I guarantee you after this season, and I watch every good lacrosse game that I possibly can, my pronunciation is going to be top notch. Okay, so let's go over the structure of how the roster looks. Okay, so the active roster is 21 players for any game. Usually it's split by the coaches. So 10 offense, 10 defense, transition, 1 goalie dressed, and then final cut down must reach this number, right? So I think they obviously, there's obviously a goalie hanging around there. I thought, I'm going to have to look into that. I thought there was always 2 goalies dressed, but maybe they must have one and then just one kind of hanging out. Maybe he's dressed and he just doesn't count quite yet because he's not technically there. But anyway, I'll look into that more. But that's one thing that's the roster. Essentially the roster you need to have 21 guys, right? Going to every game. Then you have practice roster. You have knocked active on game days, can be called up at any time, and then often rookies or near miss guys. So you're gonna have a couple guys in there that you need to have up. And if from a team like Halifax, from what I'm hearing, they're going to be doing load management this year, so that'll be interesting to see. Maybe some of the practice squad guys will get up there, and at the end of the day, those guys can be turned into assets for bigger trades, or at least gives them a chance to show what they have and show that they could play at an NLL level. So other teams, when they are going to free agency, maybe they can get picked up by somebody else, right? You got the holdout list is player under contract, but not reporting. Team retains rights. Player cannot sign elsewhere. Usually work commitment, injuries, or disputes. Current or Element and Messier in Toronto. pretty sure the SNU is kind of on that list, but it's a little bit way more messier that way. Your list, you have protected player list for medical, personal, or special circumstances, still part of the organization. Example, Mike Sisselberger in Rochester. Then you have the IR, which is player injured, cannot play, short-term IR, long-term IR, season-ending injury. And then you have restricted free agent release, team waivers rights to an RFA. Example, Goeth Adams, released by Toronto. Goeth Adams, released by Toronto. Okay, so now let's shift right into, I know that was a little bit long, but I wanted to go into depth with all that stuff. And let's shift right into the interview with Will. Again, the guy is fantastic, super knowledgeable in a lot of different sports. I actually kind of like how he doesn't niche in. It's kind of an interesting take with sports because everybody, including myself, we all try to niche in and go to one sport because it is hard to cover everything. But the nice thing about covering everything is you're always watching something. So it's kind of interesting and I enjoy it. Like I said, I watched women's curling out here last spring because there was nothing else on. And, I didn't really like it at first. And when I started watching, I was like, you know what? I'm actually really impressed with this. I can't remember her name, but there's a really good women's curler. And I mean, there's probably many, but there's actually like this one female that's really, really top notch. Probably any curling fan's going to know who I'm talking about. And she's just amazing. And the shot she was taking, it was just crazy. And I can't remember if she was playing a team from China or Japan. I want to say it was Japan. And it was back and forth, but Canada, obviously, since forever, has always had fantastic curling, right? So with that, he covers everything. Really nice guy. Let's get right into the interview and yeah, let's go. All right. So today on today's podcast, we have Will from TP Trailer Park Sports Network on. Welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Good. It's a great Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday afternoon now, but it's been a beautiful day.
Yeah, man. I'm in the East Coast, so I'm already into like mid-afternoon now. But awesome, yeah. Okay, cool, man. So I found you originally on TikTok. I started following you. I sent you a message a little while ago, and you were nice enough to respond. So just tell me your background in sports in general, because I know you're a newer hockey fan. So just give me a general, how you got into sports, what sports you played growing up, all that kind of stuff.
I started when I was 3 playing soccer, and then I was playing soccer, t-ball, and then you moved to baseball. I played basketball. Football was like the big one. I got into football I was 5 going on 6. Nick Saban had just touched down in Tuscaloosa, and I'm learning about this Nick Saban guy, this and that. The color of jerseys that we wore when I was a kid, they were the same color as Alabama. That's why I'm an Alabama fan. In fact, that and the Braves logo, it was like the same thing. I was a competitive swimmer until I was 14, 15. Snowboarded for a little while, not very often because I'm in Alabama, so it's not really like an easy thing to do. Snowboarded too. I've done lacrosse. I've done like a lot of different sports over the years. I just big sports guy, and that's kind of why I do what I do. I love competition. Like I say all the time, it could be underwater basket weaving. I'm gonna show up, dog. I'll pull up. I'll be there.
Yeah, I'm super similar. Like last year in the spring, I was watching women's curling because there's just nothing, it was all what's on TV. So I sat here at shop pool and watched women's curling, right? Which I find, honestly, the more I watch it, the more I like it.
You just got to figure out like what the strategy and what they're doing, because like, dude, curling is unreal. Once you start to understand, they're not just trying to bump the rock just to bump the rock. Like they're sitting there like, I need to bump this one into this one to get to this one, and then it's just like, how do you even know that you can do that? Like, where did you learn this? What? It's like mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, this skill when I was watching the women's, like I can't remember her name, but there's a really good Canadian girl that's like top in the world, and she was the shot she was making, and I think she was paying a girl from Japan, and it was just between the two of them, they were just top things. So I can watch anything too. So when did you start doing content? Kind of just break that down. And did it start with hockey, or is that kind of just what blew you up?
It's started with music, actually. I started making content to promote like the music that I was making. I started like 2022. So I was just like making videos for a while. And then like it's like late 2023. I was like, I'm just going to start talking into the phone. I live by myself in the middle of freaking nowhere, but in between a cornfield and a cotton field. So my friends don't really hang out with me that much. So it's like, I'm just sitting there and I have random takes in my head all day. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just talk them into my phone. And then they started, doing pretty decent. And then I made a video around, like it was like mid-July or early July, and some about a football player, and this dude came in my comments and said my trailer screams a life of karma. So I was like, you know what? I'll be damned. I'll show you the karma. So then I started making sports because I was like, oh, dude, the Olympics is right here. Let me start making sports videos and see what happens. And then it's like day 3 of the Olympics, I gained like 2,000 followers in a day, and I'm like, yo, so like maybe if I were to talk about sports, this thing I could do the thing I told my mom I was gonna do when I was 6, and let's like find a way to change the world through sports. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna run with this. We're sports now. Like this is a sports account. Changed the name in September of 2024 to Trailer Park Sports Network, and then kind of just been here since. But it started with the first sports video I think was swimming. I think it was swimming from the Olympics. 'Cause I love
That's
swimming.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I mean, I'm sure there's with these niche little sports, I'm finding that there's nobody covering them, or at least on TikTok. Even with lacrosse, I came on and there wasn't really anybody covering lacrosse, so I started doing it. I seen a need for it, but it seems like that's in most sports by the looks of things.
Yeah, like 100%. Like whenever you look at some of the like you said, lacrosse or like even with hockey, you've got like cricket, skeleton, and bobsled. Like all of these niche sport communities, they're pretty big communities in like relatively large communities. It's just they don't get the same as basketball and baseball, like the same media attention. So anytime they see their sport talked about, they're like, "Oh, yep, I'm rocking with him. That's my guy now. He's talking about he's talking about the thing that I care about on the internet. Nobody talks about the thing that I care about on the internet. That's my guy now." Like that's how it's. I feel like that's what it is with the lacrosse community for me, because a lot of my lacrosse videos do pretty well just because they just they get seen by the lacrosse people, and they're like, yo, somebody's talking about lacrosse, and like they never played. That's the big thing. Once they realize I'd never like played competitively, I just like with the homies, I would just go out and play sixes, just little runs in the backyard, or maybe go to the field or something, just like get shots up. I never like played on like an organized team. And once people realize that, they're like, wait, what? You care about this thing casually? Yeah, there's casual fans of lacrosse out there. Just, I wish they'd talk a little bit more.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's exactly why I started doing content, because there just was nobody doing, at least covering the NLL or box lacrosse. Box lacrosse is kind of even a smaller niche a little bit, but I think it's the most exciting, obviously the most exciting style of it by far. And so that's why I started covering it. But, like I said, so are you mainly doing hockey content, or are you doing more like just a vast variety? Like what percentage wise would you say your videos are broken up by?
I before like a couple months ago, I was trying to like cycle it, like not just start spewing hockey, because I'm like, yo, it's gonna turn my page into a hockey account, and I don't want that. But I will say like I've probably like 50% of my content is hockey, and then the other 50% is just randomness. Like whatever sport I figured I felt like watching that day, or whatever like I knew was going on. Like I'm about to start, there's some things that are about to start ramping up, because like Olympics are on the way, Olympics and Paralympics are on the way, and I'm hyped. I'm juiced, and that's where I got my start. So I'm like, yo, let's do this thing again. This is gonna be really fun. So bobsled and skeleton actually starts back tomorrow. Sliding season. You got the North American Cup starting on the 20th, and then the IBSF World Cup circuit starts on Friday the 21st. And from then, you're probably gonna see more of the like niche stuff popping back out, because it's like, yo, people need to remember that curling exists outside of the Olympics so that they can get ready to watch in the Olympics. You need to realize bobsled and skeleton exists outside of the Olympics, so you know what names to look into whenever the Olympics come around. Like Mystique Rowe, she is going to put the world on notice this year. She is going to be putting the world on notice this year, and I know it. But there's definitely been like a back and forth for me, but I'm trying to get back into like, I want to get back to the roots of what Trailer Park Sports Network's supposed to be. You don't show up to the trailer park expecting normal people stuff. You do not show up to Trailer Park Sports Network expecting regular sports, and that's what I want it to be.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that if there was some place that you could go and watch it, even if there was some kind of streaming service that would just approach all these different niche little sports, be like, let's throw them on here and get some exposure. I think that would be great, that you could bring all these smaller niche sports in together, and to have one platform that you could just turn on. Because when I'm working around the house or stuff like that, I'll turn on a sport and just have it in the background. And bobsledding or skeleton or any like even swimming, professional diving, all those sports are super high. You just need to be able to clip them properly and just get them exposed and out there in people's eyes.
They just need accessibility. I will say for sliding sports, those are all on YouTube. Those are all on YouTube. IBSF sliding, IBSF bobsleigh and skeleton. Every single event. They stream every single one of them. You can go back and rewatch them if you want to, if you missed it. I love them. Same thing with like handball. The handball, big handball guy. It's become like one of my favorite sports now. Like it's really odd. It's very weird. It's a very weird sport. But that's also another sport that the accessibility to watching it is honestly there because they just stream it on YouTube for free.
Yeah, see, I wasn't even aware of that, to be honest with you. So that's really cool. So I'll have to keep an eye on that too. And I mean, your Discord, to shout out your Discord as well. I've been trying to send it out to a couple people that I know that are diehard sports fans and like a variety of sports, because that's what I noticed when I got in there. There was so many different options, but to put links in there for all this stuff, that would be an amazing idea, because I think that's what the missing link is, right? The exposure.
I stream them too. I do that a lot. That's probably one of that's part of why I made the server in the first place. Was I know I have ESPN Plus and I pay for this streaming service, and I pay to watch, like, I have the rugby pass so I can watch rugby games, and I pay for the ICC so I can watch cricket, and I'm like, none of these other people want to pay for that, so I'll just stream it in Discord so that y'all can, watch it with me, and we can just have watch parties, and then you still get to watch it, but at least you didn't have to come out of pocket to do so, which, guarantee some of those organizations wouldn't be too happy about it, but I bet they'd be happy that people are watching their thing.
See, that's where I have an issue with it too, because I think that as much as I think maybe not the major sports, because they have obviously already exposure, but they should let these smaller creators get on there and try to like have it on screen and then they talk about it, because that's going to really expose it too, right? Because you're your own kind of brand and personality.
And it brings a perspective to the sport or to like the event that the diehard fans and the ones that have been around just probably don't get anymore. Like they don't get perspectives like that, like a new fresh perspective. It's always like, that's what I noticed with hockey, right? When hockey and lacrosse was like a lot of the conversations are the same thing. Like it's the same energy, the same like, oh, we're talking about this. I'm like, let's bring some like, let's have fun, bring casual takes into things. We can say things like, because I've noticed with like lacrosse over a while, like there's a lot of people that were like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, because I didn't play the sport, but I still like to casually talk about it. You're not going to sit here and tell me I can't talk about the sport because I don't know everything there is to know. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how many points Dane Smith has scored in his career. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. He's a dog, though. I know that.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've completely hit it right there. Like I never played lacrosse either. I didn't find lacrosse till later in life. It's actually the All-Star break during hockey last season is why I started watching lacrosse. There was a Buffalo Bandits Toronto Rock game was on a Friday night. Hockey was off, right? Luckily, so I turned it on, and it was luckily a back and forth game, super hard hitting, a big fight, like everything you could want in a game was in that game. And I just fell absolutely in love with it. So right there, I was like, and then I went on TikTok. Nobody's doing content, so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to start doing content. So that's kind of how I got here too. Right now, I'm in love with the sport. It's amazing. It's super fast.
Man, box lacrosse needs more love. I do. For field lacrosse, you have quite a few podcasts and stuff like that. You'll see lots of content from the field lacrosse side, but box lacrosse, there's not enough people talking about box lacrosse, and I think box lacrosse is arguably more entertaining than field. Obviously, being from like the South and actually seeing like box lacrosse doesn't exist down here. It like genuinely doesn't exist down here. I know one person in my life that played box lacrosse. So it just doesn't exist down here. So like I didn't know box existed until I had been watching lacrosse for like 7 years, and I was like, wait, why are they playing inside? And they were like, oh yeah, this is box lacrosse. I was like, what? What is box lacrosse? But the more you watch it, you're like, dude, why don't people watch this? They let them throw hands. You see the goalies? Like, how hard it is to score? How hard it is to score? Like, it's crazy to me. It's absolutely unreal. And I was talking with Pat Kavanaugh about it. He was saying, we were talking about it. We're like, yo, if we could find a way to get the NLL the same like marketing that the PLL has, dude, the league would explode. It would explode. If they had the marketing power that the PLL has, dude, they would be huge. They have the attendance is there. It's 100% there. The attendance is there at every single game. every single team. Like, shoot, the Buffalo Bandits outsell the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, man. I mean, the PLL, the numbers were out, and I think they were at 250,000, sorry, 750,000, right around there for viewership on that championship game. Obviously, just an amazing best on best. Where the NLL final game 3, unfortunately, in Canada, we don't. TSN doesn't put out their numbers all that much, but ESPN does, so we could go off that. And the game 3 was on ESPN. It was streamed almost over 200,000 times, 225,000 times. So you could see the growth in it compared to 2022. It was only about 75,000. So it really is growing, and it just needs to get exposure. So that's what I'm trying to do. And that's why coming from hockey, I think those are the fans that are easily the most easily to gravitate towards, right? To come to this sport because it's so similar, I find.
Like I genuinely believe if you could all you have to do is just introduce some hockey fans to box lacrosse. You just got to be like, hey man, just watch, just for a second, just watch. It's essentially the same thing, but like it's hockey but lacrosse. It is literally just hockey but lacrosse. I mean, offsides is a little different. There's no icing, stuff like that. They still throw hands, still played in the same dimensions. Come on. I mean, like, and it's highly entertaining, very fast paced. Very, very fast paced. They never stop. You got rolling lines. Dude, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. And I'm a Georgia Swarm guy. Go over to watch Lyle. Lyle's the reason that I started watching lacrosse back in, it was like 2014, 2015. And they're so I'll always like rock with the Georgia Swarm. That's his team. That's my guy.
Yeah, man. So I will die on the hill that Lyle Thompson is the best lacrosse player in the world. I think the things that he does without the ball, with the ball, makes the plays during the Man Cup, which if you don't know what that is, it's two senior men. Okay, you do.
Yeah.
So during the Man Cup, there was I think it was in games like one of the last games. He was in the corner, 2 guys in front of him, 1 guy behind him, and he passed it right out to the front of the net, well falling. It was just beautiful. Those are the plays that sell, right? Lyle's a guy you can sell all day.
Yeah, Lyle is the guy that I think he's the best ambassador the sport has ever had. Like, really and truly, I think he's the best ambassador the sport has ever had. The way that he talks about the game, the way that he plays the game is beautiful. Like, it is truly beautiful. Every time, I love listening to him speak because there's a couple of times he was like, it's not about the ground balls, it's not about the goals, it's not about wins and losses, it's about playing for the creator and making sure the creator was happy whenever you were done with the game. And I'm just like, I get chills thinking about that. Because like you love the game. You truly love the game, and you're playing the game the way that it's intended to be played. Creative, free, and you're out there just doing stuff. Like, there's sometimes it's just like, I don't know how you figured out how to do that, but you did it and you made it work, and it's all right, magic. It's like some of the stuff Lyle Thompson will do is magic. I will say I have him and Teat 1A, 1B. I think they're both like right there. Then I just say that because I feel like Lyle's closer to the end of his career and Teat is still like young. So it's like eventually Lyle's just going to walk away from it. Probably not anytime soon because, still pissed off he's not going to get to play for an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens there. I haven't heard if they're going to let Haudenosaunee play. Apparently, you're telling me this news, and they're not going to, which is super. I think that's like not having Russia in the Olympics for hockey, honestly.
So one of the main issues is there's only 2 teams per continent, and there's 6 teams. So North America, who are you going to take out, USA or Canada, to put the Haudenosaunee in, right? You know what I mean? And then it's also the IOC. I can tell the reason the IOC doesn't want to let them play is because if they let them in, then they have to let in other nations that are similar to that in as well. Like, I know there's other like small sovereign nations, and they'd have to let them in too. They'd have an argument, and it's really dumb. It's really dumb because the IOC is just being lazy. Like, it honestly just seems like they're being lazy here. They could easily just let them play because chances are it's a one-off. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's probably just a one-off because we're the host.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I would love to see box lacrosse in like the Winter Olympics. I think that
I wouldn't like. I just don't want 6s. Just my problem is it's 6s. That's kind of like my. I feel bad that I'm a hater of 6s, but it's just like, if we're gonna put lacrosse on the biggest stage, the world's biggest stage, give them what it's supposed to be. Give them the full version of the game, or box, or box.
I agree, and I think that a lot of guys aren't don't understand why we're not playing field. The reasoning I've heard, and it does somewhat make sense, is that it gives Canada, US, Haudenosaunee, hopefully, an unfair advantage because you have teams like Puerto Rico or, any other of these other countries that aren't going to really be able to assemble a top team, right? You can probably throw together 5 guys, 10 guys that can play lacrosse pretty well, but you trying to throw together 25 at a high level, like where Canada has 25 guys that are top tier. USA, same thing. Haudenosaunee, same thing. So I think that's kind of why they're moving towards sixes.
It's the roster limits. That was actually the main issue, was the roster. Like, each country's only allowed to send a certain amount of athletes to the Olympics. So if you were to sit there and put together a full 25-man roster, you've got to take people off of other USA teams to fill out that roster and not be over the athlete limit. That was another reason why they were like, yo, we're going to make sixes instead of trying, because they kept trying to, they've been trying to push for lacrosse in the Olympics for a long time. I figure you know this too. They've been pushing for lacrosse in the Olympics for a very long time, but it just was never going to be 11 on 11 because you don't have enough people. You're not allowed to send that many people to the Olympics. If they were, then we'd have to take people off the swim team and take people off of the basketball team to be able to do that. And do you really think we're going to sacrifice another team for lacrosse? I love the sport of lacrosse, but it's I don't see USA. I mean, I could see Canada doing it because it is their national sport, 100%. I could see them being like, you know what? We don't really win much in this event anyway. Screw it. I don't care. But USA, they'd be like, dude, we're not taking people off of some team for lacrosse. We're not doing that. No. So sixes was the easiest way to do it. It was the easiest way to be to meet the requirements for roster limits and not be over that limit and still be able to play lacrosse. And I don't know. I just don't like it because it's not lacrosse. And you're going to have a lot of people that this is their first introduction to the game. And they're going to be like, oh, so lacrosse is a lot like basketball. Because that's what sixes is essentially just hoops.
I mean, I honestly, I can't even argue with that. I haven't heard that analogy yet, but I think you're pretty bang on. I personally, like I said, I think box is by far the best discipline. I heard one saying where it says field is a gentleman's game and box is controlled chaos. And so I like that because, that's kind of, that sums it up. Sixes, I'm not a fan of. There's no contact. It's too fast. They need to slow it down a little bit. Because there's no commercialization in it. There's no way to show a replay. This is the thing that they basically tried to build this for the fan and they've turned it into, I don't know. They're just missing the mark, I think.
I will give Paul and all of them that were involved in making sixes a lot of credit because part of another one of those side reasons, I know the main agenda was get into the Olympics. Main agenda behind creating sixes was we want lacrosse in the Olympics. But one of those side agendas was if we make sixes, then we can grow the game in countries like Africa because you don't need deep holes. You don't need a Fogo. You don't need an LSM. Essentially need are two-way middies and a goalie. And you can teach that. That's a lot easier to put together in some of these countries that don't have all the resources that we do. That's a lot. And I have a lot of respect for them, thinking about that part too. Was well, we can grow the game by doing that because it gives people an opportunity to play the game without needing to teach 15 different, things. Don't have there's no specialists.
Yeah, and the thing is, the whole idea of it is that you can basically pick up a stick and go out and play anywhere. Anybody could play it because there's a field anywhere there is, right? So that's the intrigue of it. Like I said, I think that if they could just change a few things, it would be viable. But I always said why not just put box outside and you're good to go. There you go, problem solved.
Yep, I feel like if they really genuinely cared about growing the game, they would have chose box lacrosse for the Olympics. Or actually, no. Let me recant that statement. If they genuinely cared about growing the game, they would care more about the World Games and the World Lacrosse World Championships. They would have put all of this time and effort into boosting those and putting those on a pedestal because those are more important than having sixes in the Olympics.
Well, it's funny you say that because one thing that I do notice about this is that the NLL is trying to be you have the PLL, obviously, that's best for field, and you have the NLL that's best for box. One of the things that I always say is they're playing in the wrong time. They're going against hockey instead of trying to, play on the off seasons. we need to really bona fide that the NLL is the league. Like you have the MSL, you have the WLA that are also, those guys are going to play over there. Then you have some guys playing the PLL. So the NLL is kind of the best on best because that's where everybody seems to convene and play against each other. And it's also the most exciting. So I'm hoping that we can kind of create that. And that's what I'm trying to do, is help the NLL grow and create that for them to be the pinnacle of lacrosse. That's where you go to watch. So you don't have to, the World Box and stuff is amazing, but the problem is they don't work each other's schedules around. So a lot of times these events end up conflicting, and then these young players have to make this huge decision on would they rather go win a gold medal, or would they rather go try to, in a different way. So that's a big issue as well.
Yep. I agree 100%. There's I do enjoy the World Lacrosse Championships and things like that, because I just feel like those mean more to the players than an Olympic medal, especially if it's gonna be sixes. I do also agree that the scheduling is weird, but I think you would screw over every single one of the players that plays in the PLL and in box by flipping the schedules, because a lot of those dudes play in both leagues because that's how they put the food on the table. If they don't play in both leagues, they don't eat. Or if they don't play in both leagues, and I got to work the office job that I got this degree at Cornell for, unfortunately. Or they go back to Cornell to be a coach.
No, you're absolutely right. So what I would like to see as we go forward, and I think we're moving in that right direction, is the NLL would be a full-time job, or the PLL, right? And I think the PLL should shift back, so it'd be more played down in the southern states where winter doesn't matter. Then you have, they can't do that.
Well, all right. The reason they can't move their schedule to the left is because of college lacrosse. Like, if they were to move their schedule to the left, then the dudes that get drafted out of college would probably be screwed and not be able to play in their rookie season, because the championship game for college field lacrosse is like the same week that the PLL starts usually, or it's like the week before the PLL season starts. Like, it's Memorial Day weekend, and then like that very next weekend is the first weekend of lacrosse or PLL.
Yeah, but if you compare it to hockey is the same way. You have college players that play in college and then move on to the NHL, AHL, which I think is kind of where lacrosse needs to move to, is to where those are feeder leagues, and then they would come up. And once you're in that league, you're in the NHL or the NLL, PLL. You wouldn't play college anymore.
I could see it happening if you could actually commercialize the sport enough to make that much money. But the culture of lacrosse isn't commercial. So like, I don't think that's like a legitimate possibility, just because like lacrosse culture isn't let's make money and all of that. Because if it was, they would already be on top by now. Like, I would definitely believe that. If they really wanted to like commercialize the thing and try and do this and that, I think they could probably do it if they really wanted to. But I just don't think, because like from a player standpoint, I don't think they want to do that either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way to go, honestly, is to have the PLL, NLL work coincidentally, so both teams can play. If both leagues want to survive, or you go against each other, that's another option.
They need to combine. It's like not like combine, but they need to have a good relationship with each other. If the two leagues would have a good relationship with each other, a lot would change, because there's no reason. And I love the PLL. I work with the PLL. I promise you, I'm not being mad at the PLL. If anybody from the PLL watches this, I'm not dunking on y'all for saying this, but there's no reason on y'all's broadcast that you should not mention that you should be sitting there saying, well, he hasn't played in about 2 years, when he's been in the NLL for those 2 years. He's played lacrosse in those 2 years. You're allowed to mention the other league that he was playing in. It is not, like, come on. And some of the players are taking it as disrespect. Like, y'all need to sit down and read your comment section a little bit and listen to the public opinion, because the public opinion is crucifying y'all sometimes for not caring about the NLL.
And I mean, that's bang on too, because the NLL, all the announcers that I see and hear about, we all reference the PLL, like the stats, all that kind of stuff. I do it personally in my videos, even though I didn't watch the PLL last year. Now, what I'm finding now that I'm starting to watch all these guys and follow them more, I'm going to watch the PLL this year because I'm invested in them. Same as college lacrosse. Like, I think Trey Deer is the next big thing.
Dude.
Yeah, and like, I think he's the next Lyle, in my opinion. I think that he's going to play at Syracuse this year, so I'm going to be watching those games for sure. So I'm going to get more involved into field, and as I've learned box lacrosse and understand field more now, I do find I like it more. But at first I found it a little boring, to be honest with you.
I respect it because I was the same way with box to start. I was like, it's not the same thing. Like, it's cool. It's not a bad thing, but it's like, it's just decent. But once you start to understand it, it's all right, cool. It is an amazing thing. I'll always like field more because that's what I started out watching. I was watching the Thompsons whenever they were at Albany. God, man, that 2014 season was special. Like the only code to Waraton ever to be handed out, Lyle and Miles, just super freaking sick. That'll probably never happen again. I think the only reason they did it is because they knew without Lyle, Miles doesn't have his stats. Without Miles, Lyle doesn't have his stats. So they're just like, yeah, all right, yeah, y'all are legends. It was an
Man, like,
unreal year.
I mean, those guys are built different just because they're born with a lacrosse stick in their hand, like from 3 years old, right? My nephew, he's my nephew's native, and he was born a lacrosse stick. He talks about rain dancing before. He talks about playing for the creator, playing for the elders. That's why I love this sport so much. Whether you're talking field or box, there's so much culture to be involved in it, and that's why when you say, "Oh, Haudenosaunee not going to be in the Olympics," it's like that just takes that deflates the whole thing, man, in my opinion. Like, even if Canada wins, you didn't beat the best.
Yeah. Like it's like you said earlier, it's like leaving Russia out of the Olympics in hockey. It's like, I mean, whatever, you won it all, but I guarantee, whether USA or Canada wins, they're still going to be sitting there like, we didn't play the third best team in the world. We didn't play a top 3 team in the world, because you can ask anybody on the planet or anybody in the lacrosse world, they will tell you that the Haudenosaunee are a top 3 team in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they probably have the best players in the world. I mean, Canada is so strong as well, and the States have some really good guys as well, and it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be great to see Canada and the States go out back and forth at such a high level, but there's just going to be that asterisk or that, that taintedness to it that Haudenosaunee is the best, and unless they're in that tournament, they're not going to, and you bring your best 10 guys there, it's just not going to be the same, right?
See, and for me, because I've already said I'm probably not even going to watch Olympic lacrosse because I know the Haudenosaunee aren't going to be there, and that's a travesty. So I don't really care that much. Like, I care. I think it's cool that it's gonna be on the world stage and all of that, and people are gonna get a nice introduction to the sport, at least in some fashion. It's still just gonna piss me off that a top 3 team in the world isn't gonna be there. But you know where the Haudenosaunee will be? They'll be at the World Lacrosse Championships the year prior to that, and I will be watching that. 2027, I will definitely be caring more about that than I will be caring about the Olympics the year after. Everybody is going to be at the World Lacrosse Championships. Like, freaking even Germany will be there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and that
I'm locked in. I'm so juiced for those.
I'm personally glad that the lacrosse going back to the Olympics just for the exposure of it. It should. I mean, when you see break dancing in there, why isn't that in there? Or even like, ball hockey, get road hockey in there or something, right?
Yeah.
But like, if you're going to put these other little things in there. So I am glad in that sense. But like I said, yeah, it's not the same, unfortunately. So, okay, man, do you watch the NLL? Do you watch the PLL? Like
I watch both. I work with the PLL now ever since I've started doing this content thing. Some of their people reached out to me. I was at the All-Star game. I was at their throwback weekend, and then I was at the quarterfinals in Minneapolis. That was pretty cool. And then NLL, I've been watching for like 3 years now. Big Georgia Swarm guy. I go to some games. I don't like they're not far away from me. They're only like 3.5, maybe 4 hours away. So I'll go out there and go watch some games. Love seeing LT Ford. If Lyle, dude, he again said it multiple times. He's the reason that I started watching the sport. I love to see the dude play live. It's anytime he has the ball in his stick, you just got to hold your breath because it's like, what is he gonna do now? What is he gonna do now? I love both leagues. I'm a big college lacrosse guy. That's where I started, and I really only watched college for a good while. I didn't watch the MLL until like the last year of it, before like the PLL started, and then I was like, I'm just gonna watch the PLL. And this is like, I was a Kyle Harrison. I'm a big fan of Kyle Harrison. Love the guy, and he got picked up by my California Redwoods. So that's been my team ever since.
Yeah, man. I mean, and any form of lacrosse is great. Georgia's going to be pretty good this season, to be honest with you. I think. I mean, they're kind of they're looking like they're starting to get younger. Actually, I just went and watched the preseason game. I've at the ILA, which I mean, it's in Canada, but if you ever do get to there, it's really cool. It's just pure lacrosse building there, and basically Georgia looked big, fast, and strong, really skillful, and just lots of young talent there. So I think they are kind of trending towards younger, but by the sounds of things, like I mean, the owner there has dumped a lot of money into that program.
Hmm. You can tell, and it really shows. I think the Buffalo Bandits have set a pretty good example for how you're supposed to be running your organization. You know, like if you care, then you care. But it's also like really annoying that the Buffalo Bandits are as good as they are, because the same person that owns the Buffalo Bandits also owns the Buffalo Sabres. So like why are the two organizations run so differently, dog?
It's almost. I wonder if it's just almost that he's like a big fish in the NLL, where in the hockey, where the NHL, he might be like more of like, on par with the owners. Like there are a lot
Yeah.
of. But no, I mean, the Buffalo Bandits. It's kind of interesting. I'm a big Leaf fan, right? So I've been a diehard Leaf fan my whole life, 30 plus years.
I'm
And
sorry for your loss.
yeah, thanks, buddy. I know. And so this year, obviously, the Leafs are playing how they are. I still watch every game. I'm a diehard fan, like I said, but I'm really excited to watch lacrosse, and it's nice to have it because now I don't have to be so depressed, essentially, with watching the Leafs and not looking forward to anything. But look, like Buffalo has done a great job. They broke the attendance record last year, I think, for
Yep.
most average fans. They had 3 full sellout games last year. This year is going to be a lot more even in the NLL. There's probably about 6 teams that could have a chance to win the championship, where really only had Buffalo, Saskatchewan last year, in my opinion. And this year, there's so many good teams to watch out for.
There's been a lot of movement in the past like 2 weeks. There's been a lot of movement in the past couple of weeks. And I'm like, see, we're setting up for fun. We're setting up for parody and chaos. And whenever we get to the end of it all, whoever comes out on top, it was genuinely like, yeah, all right, that's the best team. Uh-huh. And if the Bandits somehow manage to go 4 in a row, I don't even know what to say. They're already a dynasty now that they've got three of them things. But dude, what is 4? What does 4 make them?
I mean, the truth of it is that they have Matt Vince, which is the GOAT in net. He's the best goaltender of all time. He's starting to get up there, obviously, but he's still the greatest of all time. And they have, Dane Smith and Josh Byrne, the dynamic duo. They lost a lot of their depth scoring. They did re-sign Kyle Buchanan, though, which is a big piece for them. And they got to have some young guys step up. But I don't think I think they're going to be good. I think they're still considered a contender. But I think there are better, deeper rosters now than them, in my opinion. So
they're not the elite. Oh man, we got to play Buffalo this week team.
yeah.
Like like Alabama from like 2009 to like 2018, I think was the time they were. I'd love to say to 2020 because that's the last championship they won from 2009 to 2020. But even as a Bama fan, I'll cap it at like 2017, 2018 because those last couple of the last championship, they kind of just, that was too easy.
I actually watched some college football as well, and I like Alabama. I don't really have a specific team, but I like Alabama. I liked, anybody really good, like Georgia, I'll watch, no problem. I was a big USC fan, honestly. I do like them a lot. Reggie Bush, I was a big Reggie Bush fan.
You need to learn about the Sun Belt, the frickin' Fun Belt, and Maction, baby. We love Maction because those are a couple of conferences that aren't, great conferences, but dude, it gets chaotic. Boy, it'll get chaotic in those two conferences. Same thing with like I love the group of 5. Like I love my Alabama Crimson Tide, but I definitely have spent more time over the past 5 years now watching these other conferences like the Sun Belt, the American Conference USA, just because like it's like, dude, what is gonna happen? These teams are all full of, no offense to them, but like actual future accountants and like people that are there's maybe like a couple of NFL guys on each one of those rosters, but like for the most part, those are regular dudes that are gonna go have regular jobs when it's all said and done, and they're out there going toe to toe with freaking all pro, like future all pros. That's why I love college football so much, because you have some dude that is a very legitimate number 1 overall pick and future first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's being outplayed by some dude that's going to be working at State Farm in 3 years.
Yeah, and it's funny to see the mismatches too when like those good players do cook somebody, or somebody can't really cover them, just for the big offense. And that's what I love college football so much, is you get these massive offensive games. And actually, one of my clients that I treat, he's a big Georgia Tech fan. He went there, and so he's working in Canada right now. And so he was telling me how good Georgia Tech was doing compared to what they usually do anyway this season.
Like it's insane. Like Georgia Tech is usually I feel like it might maybe it's a little disrespectful to say bottom feeder, but they're like usually at best mediocre.
Yeah, mid-pack team,
Yeah,
something.
like they're for them to have a chance at the college football playoff is unreal. It's actually unreal. And there's the Vanderbilt too. I, oh my goodness, college football. I'm not the biggest. I like NIL. I do. I wanted everybody to get paid. I don't like the way that it is used, and I don't like the way the transfer portal is used either. I'm happy it hasn't leaked into lacrosse yet, and I say yet because eventually it'll happen. Eventually it'll happen. There's just not enough money there right now for these teams to be like, yo, I'll give you $100,000 to come play here for a year. Like, that's not happening yet, but Hopkins has the money to do it. Notre Dame probably has the money to do it if they wanted to. UNC for damn sure has the money to do it. And like that's what I'm worried about eventually is the transfer portal and NIL hurting college lacrosse, because as of right now, it's still one of the more pure college sports where like you're committing to a program and you're there for 4 years because you wanted to be there and you wanted to play for that coach. And you don't really see a lot of those dudes like, 1 year I didn't play, all right, boom, I'm going here. Man, I didn't play there, cool, I'm going here. You don't see that. And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it definitely changing as well because, a school that maybe can't be good in basketball, can't be good in football, they're just, they're just out of their depth. Why not dump money into another high level, high impact, great sport? Exactly. Cornell's a great look at CJ Kiersa just came out of there, right? They have a great program, and I think you're going to see more of that. So it's definitely interesting, but I understand what you say because I used to watch a lot of college football, like pre-pandemic even.
Yep. Oh man.
And it was so much different back then. And now I still a college football fan. I still watch it. I'm just not watching it every week anymore. And I notice now difference. It's like players are moving around a lot more. They're kind of leveraging it so they don't have to play for certain teams in the NFL. And they'll just say, oh, I'll go back and make, $8 million in college this year. I don't care.
Yeah. It's honestly silly to me because at the same time you have all of this NIL and lots of these transfers going on, you have an increased amount of first, second, and third round busts. It's because none of these kids are developing anymore. They're running from adversity. Oh, I didn't play here, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna put up numbers here. Cool, I put up numbers here, then I'm gonna go here now. And then they didn't learn anything. All they did was beat up on either inferior competition or they got put into a system that just abused defenses. Like it was like there's a lot of quarterbacks that get drafted nowadays that they are good. They're good quarterbacks. But I don't think they're NFL level, like mentally, because they were sitting playing in simplistic systems that like you have maybe one read. You maybe have 1 to 2 reads. And if those aren't there, take off.
Yeah. It's like they're almost not, they don't have the same, they don't have the same breakdown system or
They're not
football
developed.
IQ almost. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you look at if you listen to Tom Brady, he went and watched every game. Like for 3 weeks, he basically sat in his room and just watched tape on every player's tendencies, all that stuff. I don't think you really see these guys dedicating it and doing that like that as much anymore.
I'm happy that you mentioned Tom Brady because Tom Brady is part of the reason that I say what I say, because he made a statement and he said it even better. He said the reason that you have a lot of these quarterback or these just like players that are bad now is because they're just mentally underdeveloped. They are more athletic than ever. All of the players going into the league, more athletic than ever. But the problem is they're not mentally there. They get into a situation where, oh, dang, I just threw 2 picks in 2 drives and they just shut down. Dude, you got to forget that. Get it out the freaking window and you got a game to play. You have a football game to play. And I think that's a big problem. And I don't think it's just a football problem. I think it's a problem across a lot of the sports right now, or the players are more physically developed than ever, but they're mentally underdeveloped because they're not being taught the same core values of the game anymore. I mean, I've had a lot of people like say, I mean, I don't really think it's happening that much in lacrosse, but I do see a lot of people complain about like the flashiness now. You know what I mean? Like folks are just doing like flashy stuff and they're not working on the fundamentals. And then it shows like late in tournaments or like championship games whenever you're playing against, like when you're going best on best and you need those fundamentals. That's the thing that costs you the game, is the fact that like yo, he's sitting here trying to go BTB for no reason when like if he throws a traditional pass, it gets there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think some of these guys are so high skill level, they can do it every time for sure. I love the behind the back passes. I think it adds a little flavor to the game for sure. But I know what you mean. Sometimes it happens in hockey, anything really, any sport, but especially hockey and lacrosse because there's consistently moving, it's consistently going. It's almost like they Leafs are a great example of that. Just play with the puck too much, trying to make these fancy plays instead of the type of hockey that wins, especially in today's hockey. Point shots, shoot like shots low to the net, try to get bodies in front and tips, and that's what goes in because these goalies are so high level now. If you're just shooting one-on-one with them, they do save it most of the time.
Yeah, they're going to sit there and take it away, especially like guys like Halibuck, you know, and then like, dude, they're sitting there and they know how to read. They read you like a freaking book, and they're just like, all right, cool, gotcha.
So, when did you get into hockey? Like, when did you start watching? And
Four Nations.
Okay,
That was my first.
Man.
Yeah, dude, man. I make the video on Instagram a lot. I should probably make it on TikTok, but I do it more on Instagram. Is like Four Nations was very successful because it got a lot of people into hockey. Like I remember I had 700 followers on my Instagram account before I started talking about hockey. I'm almost at 44,000 now, and that was
man.
February.
See, the Four Nations was the NHL did an amazing job. All these other leagues cannot figure out the All-Star game. And I think the NHL representing your country is the way to go. Not to do it every year because that waters it down, but I think what they're planning on doing is doing it every 4 years, but offsetting with the Olympics. So you're kind of getting it every 2 years.
I think they're trying to bring back the Hockey World Cup.
Yeah.
What they were, or I heard something about them trying to, with the offsetting, they're trying to bring back the Hockey World Cup. Which, if that were to happen, because that's what it seemed like. The Four Nations was a little bit of a like I know it's like supposed to be like a teaser for the Olympics, but it kind of felt like it was a teaser for a future World Cup action where you're gonna, they gave you a field of 4 this time, but eventually they're gonna give you a field of like 8, 16, and they're gonna go duke it out for 2 weeks, and or 3 weeks. It's gonna be the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah, man. So it's funny that so I went to a game originally at the World Cup of Hockey back in, I think it was 2018 or 2016 or whatever it was. And I watched North America versus the world. That's when Austin Matthews was coming up. He hadn't even played in an NHL game yet. So it must have been 2016. And I got to see him play with McKinnon. McDavid was on there. Like they had a really good group of core young guys. That was more thought out and that was more planned out. The the Four Nations tournament was very quickly thrown together, and it just turned into this insane success. So now the next one, they're already talking about adding more teams in. I would love to see them add a Team North America back in with the young guys under 25, whatever it may be. And it just really brings, because it gives them, these guys, if you go look at the North America roster from back in 2016.
Yeah, I've looked at it, dude. It's rancid. It's absolutely disgusting. There's like insane stars top to bottom on that roster. It's diabolical that they were even allowed to freaking send the people that they did. It's a crazy team.
Well, it also gives it a little bit of a unique flair because you're never going to get to see guys play together like McKinnon and Matthews. You're never going to get to see them unless they play together on the same NHL team. But in an international or that big of an event, you're never going to get to see that. So I think that it gives that that good spice that the NHL really needs. And I think it would be awesome to see it again. The North American team, young team.
Absolutely love to see it again. See it the first time. I watched it on YouTube just because like I was like, all right, I need to go back, and I've done my due diligence when it came to learning hockey as somebody that talks about it on the internet. I'm like, you know, I could be a super casual, but I like to know things. I like to know what I'm talking about. You know, when I don't like feeling left out of conversations sometimes. So like people were talking a lot of puck and I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what's happening. So I've gone back and I've gone through like the whole 2000s. I'm just going in like reverse order, like 2010s, 2000s, and then just going back and back because it's like, well, most of the stuff being talked about is like relatively recent anyway. So I might as well learn like what's relatively recent. And man, there's been some crazy, cool international hockey moments over the past 25 years. The Crosby's golden goal might be one of the most beautiful ones. I love TJ Oshie's performance, though. That was awesome. That was sick. I like how he just sat there and did the same move over and over and over and over and over again. It's just kept beating Bob. It was so cool.
Yeah, I think Some of these moments are super iconic, like 2010 Crosby's golden goal. The 2002 team with Mario Lemieux was really, really good. You know, that Summit Series in 1972. I don't know if you've ever watched that, but that's really cool. You check that out. That's like a part of Canadian history. Canada versus Russia in the Cold War. 8-game series, 4 games in Russia, 4 games in Canada. It's an amazing series. Like it was, and that's when we play, like when Canada, the US played last year, and that first game in Montreal, and you guys came in, and the Kachuk brothers dropped the gloves, and I can't remember who the third guy was right off the JT Miller, maybe? Is it? Anyway, whoever that third guy was that dropped the gloves, all fought within under a minute or whatever. I've never seen that ever, and I've been watching hockey for 30 years. I got to watch that with my kid. That is a memory, that game specifically. More, I would even say somewhat even more than the actual win that we got when we played you guys at home. It was just, that game was just, I've never seen the passion, and obviously with all the political stuff that was going on at the time, I think that just added fuel to the fire. And the Kachuk brothers especially, man, they really storyline.
That first 9 seconds is what sold me, because I'll be completely honest. About a month before, maybe a couple weeks before Four Nations, my friend Fizz was like, yo, man, you need to watch this Four Nations thing, bro. It's about to come up, and people are saying it's going to be really good, dude. I've just started recently watching hockey, but I think it's pretty dope. You like lacrosse? I think you would like hockey. I looked him dead in his eyes and said, dude, I don't care about hockey. I'm going to never care about hockey. Why are you trying to talk to me about some hockey? And then we get 9 seconds into the game, and then I call him, and I was like, you know what? I lied. I lied, dog. This hockey thing's pretty cool. This hockey thing is pretty freaking cool. I've been locked in with the sport since then. Like I remember I made a video addressing hockey fans. I was like, yo, hey, hockey fans, your sport, this thing is awesome. The fans care. Players care. This might be the best professional sports product ever. And then I addressed PK. It was like, PK, I saw you on ESPN. You said I need to watch the thing. I watched the thing. You did not let me down telling me to watch the thing. And then he replied, he posted my video.
Yeah, man, PK is a character, dude. I mean, he's a Montreal Canadiens guy. Even as a Leaf fan, I was shocked they traded him. I thought they were going to keep him there forever. He had just donated a ton of money to the Children's Hospital there. The guy's actually a really good guy, charismatic, you know, top defenseman at his peak. And even though he's a Montreal Canadian at heart, I still love the guy. I think he's great as an announcer. I think he's actually one of the best announcers for having actual character, because that's what I find a lot of these NHL guys have, is that they're very flat or very like professional.
Yeah, they're very bland. That's the thing I have started to notice myself too. That's also why I like the Sharks announcers.
Yeah.
I love our like finding a good crew. I feel like it's an underrated thing about like watching hockey, is if you find the right announcers, it changes the game forever. But I think this might just be an ESPN problem.
Honestly, I think it is. I think it's across the board. It's that they're so hockey players. I have a like, hockey's huge in Canada, obviously, right? So I have a friend his son plays like AAA top tier level hockey at U14. He's already being trained, started last year at under U13, on how to talk to media, how to talk to coaches, how, like, all the answers are very programmed into them. Where I find in lacrosse, for example, and even the NFL is better than this, I find, is that the guys have a lot more
Dude, they're just
leeway.
They're not.
Yeah, exactly.
None of them are PR trained. I have a couple of I actually have a couple of friends that are in the NFL. They are not PR trained. They just they just say things. Yeah, no.
But that's why.
You know, and I figure part of it is just because if you do say the wrong thing to the media in hockey, you will get whooped on the ice in the next game. Like, somebody will just fight you.
Yeah, I think it's more just like, it's with social media, everything you say is scrutinized. Even if you don't mean it in a certain way, it can be taken in a certain way. So I think that's what it is. And I think the NHL is trying to grow a lot, especially in the States. So I think that's why they do it. But I just find it takes that flavor away from the game quite a bit.
Yeah, they just don't have enough personality. Like, that's why I like guys like Marshy. Like, he's got a personality. Like, he's a dude. Like, he's not just, you know, a robot. You know, like, love Connor, or I love Macklin Celebrini. You know, I like the guy. He's a freaking robot. Like, he's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's true, dude. It's hard to find a guy that has the talent level as well as the personality that can carry a league and be the face of that league. And, you know, they're really trying to push it right now on Celebrini and Bedard, and Bedard, I think, is maybe a little bit more loose, but I mean, Celebrini is still so young. He's only 19.
He's figuring it out a little bit, I think, as he's going, but It's only year 2, but I feel like with the amount that he gets interviewed, I think he's just gonna turn into a Quinn Hughes over time. Where it's just like, I don't want to do these anymore, dude. Like every single game, y'all are asking me to talk to you. I don't want to do this. Like, can I just shower and go home?
Yeah, it's funny. All the guys in the States, I heard Marner talk about this when he went to Vegas. He's like, that's it for media. Where's all the media? And then Eichel's like, no, that's it, man. There's nothing. And in Toronto, you get swarmed, right? So I think these guys are a little bit more trained for it, but I can tell it's a big deterrent on when people don't want to play in Toronto, Montreal, New York, all these big markets if they're not that kind of guy.
Yeah, and I whenever the whole Marner thing, I was like, dude, wherever he goes, it's somewhere where the media is not gonna like mess with him because he's just tired. He's tired, and I would be too. I know I like to dunk on the Leafs a lot of times, but like it is kind of concerning the amount of like media attention that they get from time to time that they can't just like Austin Matthews can't just be a normal person. If Austin Matthews goes outside, if Austin Matthews farts, it's being posted about.
I mean, I think yes and no, because I'll tell you, Willie Nylander, which is a star in the league, I don't know if he's considered maybe Matthews or Marner level quite yet, but I consider him a star, and he rides the subway in Toronto, and nobody bothers him because he doesn't care. It's like these other guys, Marner and Matthews, they kind of like let it get to them, where Willie's just like, it is what it is. I fucked up,
Yeah, it is a case-to-case basis. Some people can't handle that. Some people want their privacy too. They don't want to be messed with. They just want to stay out of the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just look at it like we're like the Dallas Cowboys of, the NHL, right? Like it's the same kind of thing. It's a zoo there, and if you look at them, they're so comparable as a fan franchise. They always think they're going to be good,
Yep.
and then they fall short.
And it's always funny, and it's now funny to me that people say the Leafs are the Cowboys of the NHL when it's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
It's actually the other way around because the Leafs did it first.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. We've been waiting forever. I always say I just want to see them win one time. All right. So, give me your opinion on what the NLL can do to grow the game of lacrosse.
Dude, all right. I've got a few. Number one is, well, actually, it's not really an NLL problem, huh? It's more of a PLL problem. Is just find a way to have a good relationship with the other league. It doesn't really matter like how extensive the relationship is. Just have a good relationship with them to where they'll talk about you on their broadcast and you can talk about them on your broadcast and it's okay. And also hire a new marketing team. Like straight up, just fire everybody that you have in the marketing team, fire them and get new people. Because tell me how it took me like 2 weeks to figure out what the whole NLL unboxed thing meant. I was texting people in the league and they were like, yeah, I have no idea what this is. Like I'm sitting there texting people that are in the NLL playing in this league. And they're like, yeah, I have no idea what that is. How about like market better? Let's market just a little bit better. Just promote the sport. It kills me. It actually kind of kills me. And I think that's probably like the two most important ones. Is like the marketing is terrible. Like
I think
it's just sad.
I think getting it exposed is the main thing. So the games are on TSN every Friday nights. It's kind of like Friday Night Lacrosse or Friday Night in the NLL or whatever you want to call it. The other thing is if you sign up for NLLplus.com, which is again probably not too many people know about because I didn't know about it until I was involved in the NLL. It's free to sign up. All you have to do is sign up, and then you get all the other games that aren't exclusive to TSN. So there's usually one or maybe two a week that are on TSN. After that, the rest of the games are on NLL Plus for free. So they're trying to do it, but it's just they don't do a good job at letting people know about it.
Yeah, that's what kills me is like, yo, if you're going to do something, let the people know. Let the people know that this is the thing that you're trying to do and such. But they're really, really, really bad at that. Like to a point, it's annoying.
Yeah, in the Unbox series, I mean, I was confused by it at first too, man. I had to go digging around myself, and all it is just trying to get exposure. So they partner with these communities, and they just give them a team name, and then that's just they might run with tournaments with that. It depends on. It's really up to community. It's really basically saying
lacrosse pathway or something type.
Yeah, it's more just, hey, the NLL is like kind of testing the market, seeing as like, hey, would this be a market that we could move into? Like Edmonton, for example, they got an Unboxed team. I think last year, the year before or something. Now they're doing a game there. If that game goes really well, they're probably going to end up with a team. So that's kind of what they're doing. So all these Unboxed teams, though, that you're seeing, not all those teams are going to end up being NLL teams ever. Like, there's no way. So it's
They,
definitely
they did a
confusing,
lot of
man.
them. They did a lot of them, and like I like that they did it. It's a really cool thing that they did it. I wish they would have explained it whenever they were doing it. That would have been awesome. Like that would have honestly been awesome if they would have been like, "Hey, so this is what this is." That thing, like, "Hey guys, we're about to roll out a thing, and this is what we're rolling out." Don't explain it after you roll it out. You explain what you're rolling out before you roll it out, and then you whatever.
No, I mean they're starting. Brett Fruit is just the like he's a commissioner now, right? And he's been in for a little while now, but he's done a really good job at trying to change this. I think he is the guy for the he comes from NASCAR. He's got a good business degree and all that stuff in sports. And I think he is the guy, and he's working on all this stuff. But at the end of the day, there's only so much money and so much resources to go around. They just dealt with a CBA, all that stuff. So I think we're supposed to be getting a new app coming out. We're supposed to be getting, the NLL Plus is going to be doing more intermission stuff, and you're going to be able to go on and see kind of teams just whatever they want to post on there. I guess more media. So, and that's the thing. The other thing is the teams aren't quite good enough at social media, in my opinion.
That was the thing that I was talking with people about, was like, and I said earlier, was if they had the social media machine that the PLL had, the league would explode. It would genuinely explode, because the one thing the PLL is really good at? Social media. Like overly good at social media.
Oh, and they have so many more people covering it, right? They have more people talking about it. It's more on Barstool more. Like it's integrated into, it's becoming kind of, a major sport somewhat. Well, just tell me anything that's going on with you or whatever. Like what do you got going on with your Discord, or do you have merch coming out, or what's the future look like for you?
We do have merch coming out. I've got samples coming in. They might have got delivered today. If they don't get delivered today, they'll get delivered tomorrow, and the store will open up today. Store either opens up today, the 19th, or I don't know. So it'll open up in the next couple of days, hopefully. I'm doing a lot with USA bobsled and skeleton. Like I don't know which athlete I'll have on, but I'm gonna have one of our USA athletes that is going to be going to Milan for the Olympics. I'm gonna get them on before the Olympics, and then talk about pre-Olympic previews and stuff, and then get them on for after the Olympics. The podcast is rolling. I'm probably gonna get some more episodes out this week. I have some ready. I just need to go back through, edit, and stuff like that. Need to figure out an outro and an intro. Those are hard things to do, but you figure them out as you go. And other than that, I'm kind of just enjoying as many sports as I can and trying to have fun with it, trying to like remind myself that why I do this, because it gets hard sometimes. It gets really like crappy, get really weird messages from a lot of people, and dude, man, I had to stop checking DMs for a while. So I'm like, yo, I haven't seen this many racial slurs since the last time I played Call of Duty. So it's like, I'm just gonna not read these anymore. Go Sharks and such. Just gonna watch my Sharks and enjoy it. I think the big thing for me is getting to San Jose, and I need to get to the tank. And it's like it's the big thing. I want to get to the Shark Tank. I love that team. And like I've only been a fan since, I'm gonna be honest, I really, like, in my head, I picked that team like the week after I started watching hockey. But for the content purposes, I did the whole like I ran with it. But I honestly think like I subconsciously had picked that team like off the jump. Like I was like, yo, I love those colors. Those jerseys are freaking clean. Yeah, they suck. And they absolutely suck. All like the sports teams I've chose like in my whole life are always good usually. Like Alabama ended up being really good. The Cleveland Cavaliers won a championship. The Falcons, I can't really say much about the Falcons. That happened. The Braves, the Braves have been good. The Angels, unfortunately, have not. But I most of the time I've been fans of sports teams that are good. Plus, I'm a fan. Plus, I'm an American, right? So it's like Team USA, we win all the freaking time and such and this and that. I need to be a fan of something bad. So
Yeah, man. No, the Sharks, first off, they have so much swagger. I mean, it's just sad that they've been kind of in the bottom of the league so long, but I think their time is coming. They've got a lot of prospects. I just seen you do that video yesterday. I think it was, all the prospects, all that kind of stuff. They've got some really good guys that are ready to go now. And just, it's almost better, in my opinion, to be bad for this last year. Maybe not bad, but try to get another top 10 pick, because the draft is really deep this year and they're going to be looking good. And I also want to say, like, it blows my mind that people are still sending out racist comments in 2025 because, like, I just don't understand it, especially because we want to grow these sports, whether it be lacrosse, hockey, whatever. I don't care what skin color you are. Just fucking, if you enjoy the game and I mean, me and you have been sitting here over an hour now talking back and forth about all these different stuff. And I mean, I love it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care kind of what you look like. I grew up very multicultural myself, and I just love talking sports with anybody that's willing to do it.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I think the hockey is for everyone thing is a lie. Like I think it might be one of the bigger lies the NHL puts out there is
Do you
because
think it's
it's
like
not,
monetary wise? Is it like because it costs
yeah.
so much, or do you?
Well, it's just because like yes, the money thing is like a big problem, but it's like the sport is just like deep rooted with racism. Like it's just like ingrained in the sport at this point. Like there's so many players across the board that have said like some pretty crazy things, and like people send me videos like, yo, this is what somebody just said in the dressing room the other day. And it's just like them just like with their phone in their pocket recording something. It's just some white dude saying the N-word over and over and over and over and over again to like one of their teammates. It's just like, how are y'all teammates, bro?
Do you find it's? Do you think it's getting better though, or is it just is it staying that same level?
I would say I think it's probably around the same level. If people think it's getting worse, it's just because they see it more. I don't think it's gotten worse. I don't think it's necessarily gotten better. I think people are just starting to see it more and they're like, "Oh, that's what they were talking about." Yes, that is exactly what we were talking about. Yes, that is the racism in the sport we were talking about. Why are you like I'm a monkey? Why are you doing that to me? Why are you sending me a voice message of monkey sounds?
Yeah, and I mean, the same thing happens with the natives in lacrosse as well. It's an unfortunate thing about, small-minded and small percentage of people, because I think most people aren't like that, even in any community. But it's unfortunate that it is so deep-rooted. And I mean, I have lots of multicultural friends, and I've seen it being out with them, to be honest with you, just in the world, right? Because I'm white, they'll talk to me instead of talking to them, even though, they're the ones ordering the food or something. And, I've experienced that with them a little bit. So I know it's still out there, but it always blows my mind because I guess this is the way I think. So I think everybody should think that way.
Yep,
Maybe.
yep. That's how I am about it too. It's like, well, I wouldn't do that to somebody, so why would you do that to me?
Yeah. So man, I really hope that does continue to change. I don't think it should. I wouldn't give a shit who you were. As if you could come win even if it was a female, come win the Toronto Maple Leafs championship, Stanley Cup. You can come
Yeah,
on the team. I don't
like
care. I want to win.
like I don't give a damn if it's like freaking Hillary Knight on the team, dude. Like if you can fucking score, you can fucking score, dude. If you're a dog, you're a dog. That's the only thing that matters.
No, absolutely. So, well, man, I've taken a lot of your time. I really appreciate it. I could sit here all day with you, honestly.
Oh,
Like,
dude, really?
I enjoy every sport as well. Hopefully, I would be more than happy to like live stream a lacrosse game with you this
Dude,
season, one of
definitely
the
during the
NLL
season.
games or something. And because I go live every NHL game, so even if you're around, any Leaf game, I'm always going live on TikTok. So if you want to jump in there,
I'll
or
pop in.
during, or I don't usually co-host, but for somebody like you, I would for sure. And then even like in the NLL, man, same thing. I think that like I said, hockey fans are the easiest to convert over. So
We got to get it in their face. We just
yeah,
got to bring it to them, and that's what I'm gonna do for the next couple of weeks is push some box lacrosse. I need to niche the account back up anyway. It's gotten a little too hockey coded. Needs to go back to niche. Like I said, and it's honestly probably gonna go on a shirt. You don't show up to the trailer park expecting regular things. You do not show up to Trailer Park Sports Network expecting regular sports.
you know what? I love that, man. So good luck in everything you do, dude. And I'm gonna, anything I can do to help, please just shout out. And thanks for coming on the show and everything. I really appreciate it.
But I appreciate you for having me, and we can do it again whenever. Just gotta let me
Yeah.
know.
All right, man. Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
For sure.
So huge shout out to Will for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I had to wrap it up because I could have just talked to him all day. Like most of the time when I talk to people and I'm interviewing them, I really try to stick to the script. Like in a sense, like I'll circle back with him. It's just because of the way the conversation went, it very just kind of flowed so naturally. I did get most things that I wanted to talk about and ask him in, but it was like so naturally flowing. And we touched on so much topics and, like I said, I learned a lot about him. I learned a lot in general, about some small niche sports that I'm probably going to start watching more of, especially being in his Discord. he's got every sport in there here. I really appreciate that. So I'd love to help him grow. He's got merch coming, all that stuff. You all heard about that. So go support him any way you can, man, because even just a follow, a like, a comment, if you can't afford anything monetary wise, like go to buy anything off him or stuff like that, join the Discord, show him support that way. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a monetary value. Again, thank you for Will for coming on here. And so we'll touch on one more thing too. Like we touched on racism at the end here. And I'm always blown away at this in 2025, how there's still so much racism in today's society. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what gender you are. If you're a sports fan and you're knowledgeable, and even if you're a sports fan and you're just curious, I don't care what race you are. And that's why I even said this to him, right? I always find it so unbelievable that people are still like this. And there obviously are people out there. Like I'm not naive to that, but it blows my mind because I just don't understand how you could hate somebody or dislike somebody just for the color of their skin or their sexuality or their gender. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I know, again, it's probably getting off topic about lacrosse and trying to stick to it, but it makes me sick. He told me some stuff, and it's just like, to go out of your way to go make someone feel bad or try to make someone feel bad by calling them racial slurs or, like he said, like stuff he just told me was ridiculous, disgusting. If you're that person, then you're a piece of shit. Okay. I don't care. That's all I'm going to say about it. So anyway, sports is supposed to be for everybody. It's supposed to bring people together, and this shouldn't be a deterrent on whether you're whatever skin color you are or whatever. Okay. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about it. But I just think it's disgusting that we're still dealing with this today. I can tell you it wouldn't. Be better, do better, and it just makes me sick. Let's get right back into lacrosse though. That's my little racism tangent, and I fucking hate it. So, okay, so we're going to go right in here. I told you guys I had a mock trade for you, and here it is, okay? So my mock trade, my first one I'm going to talk about is the Lyle trade. I think I already might have mentioned it on the other one. And Teddy and Pat already talked about this, so it's kind of like a piggyback one almost, because I already said, Lyle to Halifax, it makes a lot of sense, and obviously I agree with them completely. So that I couldn't take that one as my hot take, my trade that I'm going to call out. But the trade I'm going to call out is Jack Hanna does not want to be in Vegas. He wants to be in Colorado. Vegas isn't just giving Jack Hanna away. He put up like 80 plus points last season. He's got a better supporting cast around him, guys that can show him really what a veteran lacrosse player is supposed to look like. And I think that there's, lots of potential for him essentially. So to give him away, you're going to have to get something good back. My mock trade is to either give a massive blockbuster and give Dylan Ward to them so they can go win now, because those guys are right in win mode. So is Dylan Ward. Colorado's going to make the playoffs this year, to be honest with you. Or I said that originally, but we're going to go over a couple things. I did like the way they played. I thought they played a lot better, and I know their goaltending is really solid. I just think that there's so many other teams. It's going to be tight. I'm not saying they're going to be, I think they're going to probably be like a 7-9 team kind of deal. Or what would it be? 7-10, sorry. No, 7-11. So I think they're going to be like an 8-10 team kind of deal, right? So with that being said, I think they are going to miss the playoffs just slightly. I do think they're just going to miss the playoffs slightly. I think that the other teams are just going to edge them out, but they're not out of it. They could still come. But my point with that one is that if they were to get Jack Hanna, that would give them the offensive help. They have, like I mentioned before, they have the best goaltending like trio in the league, in my opinion. Saskatchewan's is pretty good too. Don't get me wrong. That duo is really good too. But Colorado has a really strong goaltending tandem, at least. I think after last week watching Nate Whittam play and put on the performance that he did, I think that he could be a starter in this league. So, I mean, you could either look at the mock trade I'm talking about is maybe Dylan Ward and obviously high draft pick, maybe 2 high draft picks to Las Vegas for Jack Hanna. I could see that. Probably 1 with Dylan Ward. You're probably looking 1 and then maybe another pick back higher up a little bit. Another thing they could do would honestly go trade Whittam there as well, right? Whittam, I think, is a little bit more proven than the guys there, personally, with the talent that's there, but you never know. So I could see this as being a goalie from Colorado, whether that be any of those 3 guys realistically. But I would have to say for a Jack Hanna caliber player, they need to get a top goalie back, and that's why I think Ward makes the most sense with maybe a draft pick, like a second, and then or you get a first overall with Nathan Whittam, maybe a first and a second or something like that. So that's kind of where my head's with that. You guys let me know what you think. But that's just a little mock trade that I think I could see coming down the aisle down the road this season. Yeah. And another one, you never know. Again, with Halifax, they have a lot of young talent. They got a lot of draft. They got 3 first rounds this year. And again, if they're looking at like Warren Hill's not performing, Hutchinson's not performing as well as they think they should, then you're going to get into where maybe they look at Colorado and be like, hey, you got a lot of goalie depth. You guys need some offensive help, and let's make a deal and bring, again, Whittam over to Halifax, or possibly even Dylan Ward over to Halifax, depending on if the Lyle trade doesn't go through, or maybe Lyle stays in Georgia. Maybe Lyle goes to Buffalo or Rochester, right? We'll have to see when that happens. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but I do think that this is a potential mock trade. So you guys let me know how I did in that one. I think that's my first mock trade that I've cooked up all by myself, realistically. I mean, obviously to me, Lyle going to Halifax, other people were talking about it. I was already had it kind of, I think I might have mentioned it. Maybe I didn't. Either or. The thing is it's obviously the writing's on the wall there a little bit. So it just makes a lot of sense. So now I didn't want to like just steal Teddy. I mean, Teddy and Pat, they had that trade first. So, came up with my own there, boys. So, yeah. So, okay. So that's just a little mock trade that I kind of came up with, right? So it's just some fun stuff. Next, classified, the next 2 things they talked about. So I want to shout out to those guys. They're great guys, both those, Jake and Lucas. Lucas was on here, my last podcast, and I learned a lot off him, obviously. So I was listening to their show like I always do. I listened to the whole thing, right? I am slowly starting to listen to old episodes as well. I think I've listened for about, I don't know, the last 6 weeks or so, really continuously. I really wasn't a podcast guy before I got into podcasting. So I actually probably started more podcasting than I actually listened to it. Lacrosse Classified was the first one I really listened to, because when you look it up, that's where all the big guests are and stuff that I found. So that's why I listened to them first. So they talked about 2 things. So they had Halifax coach on, Mike Hersey. So I want to go over some of the stuff that he kind of went over. Brendan Bobberry, he said they asked about him specifically, and he said he would play anywhere they needed. So you might see Bobberry on the back end this year. You might see him in transition. You might see him on the forward. He's going to be a guy who's just going to go out there and get the job done, no matter where you need him, no matter where you put him. I think he wants to win in Halifax, and I think that he sees the potential Halifax has to win a championship, and to do it with all those guys that are from your area. I don't think there's anything better than that. So I think that's a nice little pickup by him. I think it might even be, again, that might be bigger than I think it's going to be. Again, like, nothing against the kid. Looks like he's a fantastic player. Comes from the best lacrosse spot in the world. But, it's just I didn't think that it was maybe as good as it's going to be. And the way the flexibility that Bomberry brings in as well is something that not all players can do. So another thing he talked about was the goaltending. So he said he basically has a 1A, 1B goaltender. They're going to be running more of a tandem. Hill plays well in front of some teams. Doesn't do so well in front of other teams. So I think you're going to see more of a tandem. And Hutchinson, I mean, he's a good goalie in his own way, right? So if one of these 2 can really break out, I think Warren Hill's going to have a good season personally. But again, he is starting to get up there. Maybe he doesn't want to play every night. And so we'll see what happens. I think you're going to see, like he even said, you're going to see a tandem this year probably. We'll wait and see for that. And I think if one's getting into trouble, you're going to see the other one go in without real hesitation. We're getting it done this year. He's confident. Like, he sounds confident. Between him and Keenan, I mean, those 2, I would say, sound the most confident that they're like, yeah, we're winning the championship this year. Like, as much as Vancouver did everything they did in Vegas, they've done a lot. I just find those 2 are just like, yeah, we're locked in, we're winning. And when Saskatchewan plays Halifax, it is going to be some banger games this year. So I can't wait for that. So that was just couple things he went over and I wanted to touch base on. Go check out their podcast. They go into a way deeper depth dive than that. Another thing they mentioned on there was the Detroit Turbos, a team that used to be in Detroit. Now, obviously, the Unboxed series, they just put another team there, they gave them a name and all that stuff. Can't remember what it is right this second, but it was pretty good. And the Turbos were putting in one of the head ref or whatever that he was on there, 12,000 fans, and that was before social media. They were putting into a building. And I mean, there's teams right now that aren't getting that much. And Jake had also mentioned Baltimore has like lacrosse themed bars and everything. Like, so why are we not back in these markets? Why did we ever leave them? I don't know enough history about these teams to understand that. I'm not going to pretend to do that. Maybe it's something, maybe it's something I'll do a series on down the road is, teams that used to be here and what happened to them. So that might be a cool thing to do. But when I hear about them, Minnesota, Baltimore, Detroit, like why do we move out of these markets? And I think those should be, in my opinion, if they were already viable markets before, I think those might be one of the markets you look into considering when you look into expansion right away. Detroit makes so much sense to have a team there. Baltimore, I mean, obviously they like their box lacrosse there, or they like lacrosse there. And then, Minnesota just makes a lot of sense to me. Edmonton is probably the next place to get a team, but we'll see what happens. But that's just kind of my thing. And I think we're going to get a lot of expansion in the next 10 years. There's a lot of good lacrosse players that unfortunately kind of, there's not enough room for them because there's just so many good players. But I think there's there's enough room. There's enough really good top level talent that I think you could easily put a few more teams together for sure. All right. So another thing that they talked about as well was refereeing. So they had like the VP of reffing on there or something. I can't exactly remember who it was right off the top of my head. So, but man, it was interesting to listen to him. Now, a couple things that I liked about them. So they always start off as like a timekeeper. So they just kind of, or a scorekeeper and stuff and shot clocks and all that stuff. So they start them off there. Once they've kind of like, and I'm not saying that the senior guys probably still, some of them still probably do that, but it's kind of to prove yourself. And they might start minor assignments. Then they'll get into the floor and they'll start, maybe do a preseason game and they'll see how they do. Then they could move to a crew official, right? Is the goal for every official, is what he was saying. And another interesting thing is that they get clips. Like they send clips of bad calls that they made or good calls that they made, and clips of like the plays they missed that they should have probably had. So they're debriefing and they're trying to correct mistakes they made. They're trying to become better referees, all that kind of stuff. So like the NLL, I'm telling you, between Brett Frood and hearing that, I'm so excited. And I think that the NLL doesn't get enough credit for being prepared like they do. Like that, I don't think a lot of other leagues are doing that. I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. Because this is something I learned about the NLL. I didn't know about this before today, listening to Lacrosse Classified, which is why you should always listen to some of these podcasts, obviously including mine, but including all these other ones too, because you learn a lot of different information off these people. So, like I said, them doing that with the reffing is just insane. And it's kind of shallow of me, to be honest, to be asking about Lucas about reffing, because if you want to become an NLL ref, you have to dedicate yourself to it. It's almost like you can't be doing two things at once. But you never know. Maybe I'm wrong. I know obviously Lucas does do some reffing at other levels. He's obviously he obviously could be there. But like you said, his heart's pretty much in broadcasting, right? So, but interesting. Go check it out again, Lacrosse Classified. Go check out their podcast. Love them over here. And I listen to them every week. So, and I'm slowly making it through their archived stuff too. So that's pretty much it, guys. We've got the jersey contest going on. We've got the fantasy league starting up. I just dropped my merch store. When I say this all out loud, it sounds like a lot, but I just keep pumping, boys. We've got, again, huge shout out to Will from TPSN for coming on the show. Again, that will not be the last time you see of that guy. I guarantee you, man. I think, I can't speak for him, but I think I've honestly kind of made a friend for life there, to be honest with you. He's just such a nice guy. And he just knows about so many different sports. So I'm hoping to do some lives with him. Probably, I would love to have him back on the podcast because again, I over an hour, you'll see it soon. And I don't even, anyway, like I said, the merch store is up now too, boys. We'll be bringing more. I got lots of ideas coming with that. I'll be doing different drops and, I'm going to be reinvesting everything. Look, first off, that stuff, one of the things I want to do is, first off, reinvest so I can just start buying bulk, lowering the cost of my costs. And then if I can, I'm going to bring the cost down for you guys. I'm not trying to gouge anybody. I don't want to make a ton of money off this stuff. I'm more just trying to get my brand out there. And I think it's a really cool brand, really cool logo. I put a lot of work into it and did a lot of thought. And I think it's a really cool brand idea. There's not that many cool brands out there in lacrosse. I think that mine is honestly one of the coolest. There's a couple other ones. Yard Sales has a has some pretty good stuff on there as well. I try to keep the pricing low. Again, I'm not trying to make a ton of money off this stuff. If it could help me become a full-time content creator, fantastic. But at the end of the day, I'm really just trying to bring you guys some good merch. And the biggest thing for me in my merch was quality. Like I went out in this hoodie. It's warm on the inside. It's like fuzzy on the inside, nice on the outside. I'm a slob, so I don't know if I'd recommend getting white. I love white. But I did eat spaghetti and meatball subs today and didn't get anything on my white hoodie, but I was super careful. So anyway, that's just me. I'm just a slob. So yeah, other than that, guys, I mean, join the Discord. I'll leave the link in the bio or like it's all over my socials anyway. DM me if you can't find it. If you need a link to Will's stuff, Discord, please reach out to me as well. I can get you that. Go again. He's dropping a merch line as well very shortly here. I think he said the stuff's coming in today or tomorrow or something. So go give him support. I'm big on trying to help people to help me. Go follow all the podcasts. Obviously, if you're still here, thank you for being here. I love doing this stuff, and I could talk lacrosse all day. So I think I covered everything there. So with that being said, guys, my name is Jake McDonald. I am Anything Lacrosse, and this is the game that never sits still. We'll be back again for another exciting episode dropping Monday. Got some more guests coming and all that kind of stuff. So we're always cooking here. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to anything. If you guys have anything to say, please DM me. Please reach out to me, and let's keep growing this sport. Talk to you guys soon.